Thank you for joining us today. Our first order of business will be to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next, we'll take up the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a commissioner or citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. All consent agenda items are commission action items unless otherwise noted. Is there anything that needs to be moved?
Madam President, I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second that.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion passes. We have no items on our regular agenda, so we'll go straight to public communications, and looks like we have a volunteer. Please come up and state your name and address for the record.
Clancy Anderson, 1911 North 18th Street, Boise 83702. President Arnold and Commissioners, I'm here to talk about the management of construction zones and temporary traffic control that often obstructs travel for those who are walking or biking. I'm sure you've seen my complaints many times in the past 4 years of my advocating for safer work zones. ACHD has made some improvements to their policies and procedures, as noted by Director Wong in his July 31st email that you were a part of, but they're not being adhered to on the street where sidewalks and bike lanes are still being obstructed by signs. On the way here, I saw, is it River, was obstructed. Not really great warning. Worse yet, in the last 8 months, documented 7 work zones that have had right-of-way permits approved by ACHD without any prior accommodations for those who are not traveling in a car. So they got fixed eventually, but that was only after people had prodded you guys along. My complaints are often submitted via TELUS, the TELUS system, which is now the Reporter app, or directly to you via email. But do you know that I've been told by staff to send complaints directly to them? And I do, because the problems often get fixed much faster than submitting via the app or form. I think this problem is much larger than anyone realizes. So I am asking for your help in fixing these daily obstructions, not only to comply with current ACHD and MUTCD policies, but because I care about the safe movement for all people regardless of roads. I care about my son who will never. I care about those with disabilities that I teach to ski and often use a wheelchair. So here are a few ways that I've talked about before with staff and just seem like a little bit common sense. Number 1, instruct staff to treat every sidewalk and bike lane as you do a closed road. No more placing bike lane closed signs without proper detours. The same bike lanes are getting different treatments from one project to the next, 15th Street. And get your advisory committees involved when there are questions about what would be safe or feasible or convenient. Next would be to develop a daily inspection log for contractors or sign. This will help temporary traffic control remain in good shape and help inspectors, ACHD inspectors, to check compliance. My real job actually involves making sure food is safe from the field, and every step of that process involves logging different measures to make sure contamination does not happen. This logging is also being done at other highway districts in regards to temporary traffic control. Number 3, start enforcing fines for improper TTCs for right-of-way permits, and this usually involves proper placement and timely pickup. Also, current ACHD contract length does not allow for penalties on capital projects. This needs to be fixed because it will for sure. Lastly, ACHD specifies one sign, whether it's for a skinny residential street in the north end or a 45-mile-an-hour multi-lane road. By implementing smaller signs when appropriate, you can use some alternative bases that may work better in those difficult areas. Also, make sure the sidewalk closed right now conform to recommended signs that are on the ACHD template. The signs being used right now, because they've been hodgepodge together with the new bottom detectable rail. If you look at your ACHD template, it has a much better example of what is should be done. And I'll finish with Commissioner Goldthorpe. I think when he was first elected, one of his first decisions was approving Americana and Emerald Project. And he said at that time, we were good at talking the talk, but now we need to walk the walk. Anyway, I have more information on some of this other various staff before. If you have any questions about it, I'm more than willing to. I'm not an expert at all, but I've become pretty knowledgeable about what could be safer. So thank you.
Thank you. You know, of course, that we can't make any decisions today, but we'd appreciate it if you would give us all of your suggestions so that we can run those through staff. And
I have.
okay.
I will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the commission today? Seeing no other volunteers, the meeting's, oh, wait, come on up. And please state your name and address for the record.
Commissioner Arnold and other commissioners, my name is Celeste Miller, and I reside at 3620 East Warm Springs Avenue in Boise, which is in Harris Ranch, Barber Valley. I participate on the Neighborhood Association Board and am the transportation issue point of contact for that group. So I came today to just raise your awareness of a couple of issues the neighbors have in Barber Valley at the moment that we are working with staff to address. But one in particular has risen to kind of a heightened awareness, or I don't want to use words like alert or alarm, but heightening concern among neighbors about a crosswalk that crosses Warm Springs Avenue just west of the Ranch Market. It doesn't cross at a particular street. It used to be Eckert Road. We call it Old Eckert Road, where the crosswalk exists. The speed limit of cars is transitioning right there from 40 miles an hour to 35 miles an hour. And it turns out that it's one of the crosswalks that has flashing yellow lights, but on the north side of the road, the flashers are not visible to a car or on a bike. I've been on my bike, or buses, because of a couple of reasons. One is the pole that holds them is some 30 odd feet from the side of the road, unlike any other signals in the area at that distance. And what I noticed recently driving up to it is there are a series of trees that, if they would be trimmed or even removed, would expose the flashing lights. Some of our neighbors have recently witnessed more than one incident where kids who have been put out from East Junior High at like 3 p.m. they go to the Ranch Market and the coffee mill and buy treats and meet their friends, and then they're crossing at that crosswalk. And the ones I see, sadly, on bicycles don't wear helmets, and there are increasing numbers of parents who are concerned about the kids in these groups who are just crossing the road and kind of relying on the function of the equipment, which is really not visible. And people have seen, for instance, recently a Valley Ride bus just sort of blast through when a car heading east had stopped for a kid. But the Valley Ride bus, when you're traveling west, that's when you cannot see the flashing yellow lights on the, just kept right on going. And so people are worried. We understand that this particular crosswalk is described as a work in progress until a more permanent, super duper crosswalk will be installed in conjunction with the opening of the new school that's coming out there, which is still a couple of years out. But some of the neighbors wonder if an arm could be placed that extends out across the roadway or closer to the road, so that the flashers would be more visible. We understand there are problems with moving the pole closer to the road because of the nature, there's a ditch there and some reasons why it was placed where it was. But with the ever increasing traffic out there, and with everyone's knowledge, collective knowledge of the number of rooftops, since Barber Valley is the only neighborhood in Idaho that has this plan, the specific plans that govern the development out there, we all know the number of rooftops that are coming and the number of car trips per day that those rooftops are projected to generate. And it's just an ever-growing problem.
Okay,
Thank you.
great, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna ask that staff go out there today and take a look at that and figure out what can be done quickly to make this safer, because it does sound like if you've got a VRT bus blasting through, that's certainly not a good situation for pedestrians. So if you could go out there today, take a look and report back to us by email what needs to be done. Thank you very much for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else who would like to address the commission today? Okay, this time seeing no volunteers, we're adjourned.